Hello, fellow human light beings. This is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. Welcome back to a very special Thunder Wizard YouTube channel video. You're going to want to watch this entire video. So sit down, get prepared, because we're going to get into some deep stuff. And I'm going to share with you a very specific ancient yogic science, the secret to immortality and health. We're going to talk about the 5 levels of the soul and the 3 bodies. If you're at all familiar with yoga at all, yogic knowledge, by the way, yogic knowledge doesn't mean being able to stretch. That's just hatha yoga. That's one of many different levels of yoga. Yoga means union. So if you want to go to at least, traditional India, and you want to look for the sorcerer, for the mystic, for the wizard, you would say, take me to the yogi. So if somebody says they're a yogi, it doesn't mean that they stretch. It means that they are seeking union. The idea that yoga means stretching and postures is something that was brought over to the West in the early 20th century, and it caught on. And there are people who, if you read, I'm really into yoga, what they mean is I'm really into sitting in a studio and stretching. But that's not the original meaning. What happened way back, it had to be in the 1920s, is, of course, there were spiritual seekers from the West, and they went to India, and they went, I want to learn spirituality. And people say, oh, you want to learn from the yogi? Yes, I want to learn from the yogi, that's right. So, well, the yogi lives up there on the hill or on the outside or lives over here. And you went to the yogi and you said, I want to learn spirituality. And the yogi looked at you. And you were some out-of-shape Westerner wearing a bowler hat and a tie. And you're, in the 1920s. And he's sitting there in a loincloth. And this guy says, well, we first got to get these people connected to their physical energy. So they teach these Westerners hatha yoga, which is the stretching. And the way an original teacher works is that they look at you and they teach you what you need, which is different from today. Just, people do this to me all the time. People say, I want to talk to you. Great. Here's how you can have a session with me. Okay, but first I want to know that you can do this and you can do that. And most of the time I'll say, I'm sorry, I'm not the right teacher for you. Even if I can do this or that, it doesn't help me to teach somebody when they treat me like I'm some kind of an object that they're I'm a vending machine. They're going to put in a quarter and pick what they want. And they're going to tell me what to do. It's very hard to teach somebody under those conditions. Traditionally speaking, when you went to learn from anybody, was a yogi or a qigong master, a kung fu master, or a fencer, you went and you said, I want to learn. And they said, good, do this, do that. You didn't ask. So that's what happened to these people. They went, I want to learn spirituality. And the yogi said, okay, do these postures. And they did those postures for months. And you didn't ask, when am I done? When can I move on to the next thing? You don't do that, because the moment you do that, the teacher says, there's the door. I'll teach you what I see you need next, when I see it. So what ended up happening is these people learned stretching, and they did stretching for months, and they started to get physically healthy, and their meridians started to open, and they started to meditate, and they started to do maybe some mantras like Om or something like that, and they started having a spiritual experience, and they started accessing all of these 3 bodies and the 5 levels of the soul, and then they went back home. They went back to America or France or UK or wherever they were from, and they spent 5 years training with a yogi, and they're yoga masters, and now everybody thinks yoga is sitting around and stretching. When in reality, that stretching was meant to prepare your physical body and the meridians to handle the deeper energetic practices, the deeper tantra, which has nothing to do with sex. It means technique. The deeper mantras, the meditations, the energies, the concepts. But like most Westerners 100 years ago, they didn't have the understanding of the patience for that. So today we're going to be talking about secret yogic understandings about immortality and health, and we are going to take a look at the 3 bodies and the 5 soul sheaths. So this is going to be the first of 4. We're going to have 4 videos where we're going to be talking about this. And this, I have to give credit where credit is due. I've heard about this. Listen, I've heard about these 3 bodies and 5 soul sheaths. You know, I used to teach Kundalini yoga. I used to teach the stretching and meditation and pranayama. I used to do all that. I got nothing against it. In fact, I still teach it here in the 90-day challenge. I still teach you things that I've, interspliced with all the other stuff. You know that if you're already subscribed to that. So I've got nothing against any of that stuff. But what we're going to talk about today is the science of understanding the soul. So if you want to be healthy, like if you want to be physically healthy, bulletproof physically healthy, you want to be psychologically healthy, you want to be spiritually healthy, if you even want to be an immortal and live forever, then you need to understand this science. The 3 bodies and the 5 soul sheaths. Now, most people just know the 3 bodies and the 5 soul sheaths. I myself looked at that stuff, and I got to tell you, it bored the crap out of me. Because what I didn't realize then, which I know now, is that even the yogis, even the East Indian spiritual masters with the beards and the loincloth, the majority of them don't understand this teaching. The majority of them have it backwards. You can prove this to yourself. Go online or on YouTube and type in the 3 bodies and the 5 soul sheaths. It's called the Pancha Kosha. You can go look that up. Here's what you're going to hear. What you're going to hear is that these 5 soul sheaths, the bliss Maya Kosha, the wisdom Maya Kosha, emotional life force, physical Maya Koshas, that these need to be transcended in order to get back to Brahman, the soul. So you look up here at the top, Brahman is at the top, which is your soul. So at the essence of you is your soul. And your soul is undifferentiated consciousness. It is beyond anything we can describe. That doesn't mean that nothing's going on. It doesn't mean that there isn't an experience that the soul is happening. It just means we don't have anything to put to it. So what people say is, oh, it's emptiness, there's nothing there. And so what you will hear is people will say, in order to get back to the true soul of nothingness, of emptiness, you have to transcend these sheaths that are separating us from the soul. And they'll go and tell you why the bliss sheath, we need to transcend the Maya, the illusion of that. That wisdom is illusion, we have to go past that. Emotions, we have to transcend that. We have to transcend life force, even our physical body. And we are back to the same complete misunderstanding about spirituality, which is the 3rd dimension. Now, people can't help it. That's what the 3rd dimension does. It flips everything on its head and distorts everything. So even people who spend their whole lives in in their underwear out in the middle of nowhere. And we have to get past all this Maya. We have to get to the true soul, which means you say, I'm a piece of garbage. I'm no good. My life experience is nothing. And everything I experience of my identity and myself, the ego is bad. This is what you're going to hear. Don't believe me? Go look it up. What I'm going to tell you here today, I've only heard one other person have an understanding about this. And so I have to give credit where credit is due. And this is a guy named Guru Pashupati. You can go look him up on YouTube, Pashupait. And he claims to have trained directly with Mahavatar Babaji, and he's younger than I am. So that means Mahavatar Babaji is out there. And according to him, this is what Mahavatar Babaji said to him. You want to be immortal? You have to understand this. We are going to understand this. Now, here's the great part about this. I've been teaching the general aspect of this ever since I started this channel. You can go get my book, The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. You can find it on Amazon, Kindle, or Audible. You can go to michaelwilliamdenny, DENNEY.com. You can get that book. The point of that book is that there is only one commandment. There aren't 10. It is a commandment. If you do not follow this commandment, you are guaranteed to be miserable on many levels. Physical, emotional, physical, something around that. You're going to experience misery. Because this one commandment is, thou shalt give your soul the contentment of all of its desires. Your one purpose in manifesting is to have as much happiness and joy as you can stand. And the only being that knows what truly makes you happy is your soul. And every single human problem can be traced back to people seeking enjoyment somewhere other than their own soul. This usually manifests in you are trying to please people. You're trying to please your parents. You're trying to please God. You're trying to please the religion. You're trying to please your friends, your spouse. You want to look good. You're living your life trying to get approval, love, and acceptance from something outside of you. When what you should be doing is spending your entire 100% of your focus and energy and everything that you do focused on finding the joy within your soul and having your soul give you everything. And the path to your soul's health is one thing only: your happiness. Now you have to figure out what's the difference between happiness and being diverted. In fact, the word in Spanish for fun is divertido, which means diverted, which is interesting because that's the third dimensional understanding. You divert yourself from your soul. This is what video games are. This is what addictions are. This is what porn is, gambling, violence, seeking to be rich, famous. These are diversions. You are trying to escape the reality of your soul, and you have mistakenly thought to yourself that's fun. But the only thing that's fun about those things is it diverts you from the misery and the pain that you're experiencing because you are not following and making your soul happy. And this is the opposite of the spiritual nonsense that is being shoved down your throat by religion as well as so-called mystics who are sitting in their underwear. When they tell you that, oh, this life is misery and we have to escape reincarnation by transcending our emotions, by transcending. So this word here, where is it? This word here, I've translated into English, the causal body. Underneath it you see bliss, enjoyment, sheath. I've translated directly into English so you can understand it, because Ananda Maya Kosha means bliss enjoyment covering. Now, you won't hear that. People will throw out the word Maya Kosha, Maya Kosha. They will talk about the covering, but they won't tell you that every single one of these soul coverings is about enjoyment. So let me briefly take you through this before I start unpacking even more. So let's take a look at this. The 3 bodies and the 5 soul sheets. Up at the top you see Brahman, pure soul consciousness before self-awareness. That is your soul before it decides to take on an identity. That is, and again, we can't describe it because we don't know what that is. But trust me, it's not emptiness. It's not complete unawareness. There is something happening so profound that's beyond anything that we can understand as long as we have a perception of an identity. But that essence of Brahman, your true soul essence, made a decision that it wanted to experience self-awareness. And then this starts this whole experience, which we're going to look at, which is then it creates what we call the causal body. People go, the causal body, that's where all your karmas are. Yeah, that's true. It's the body that causes. It brings into causation your identity. And what is the first experience that the soul has? Once it has the first glimmer of an idea of self-expression, it says bliss. It covers itself with the enjoyment of bliss. It's the opposite. It's not that what you'll hear, and I've heard this from people, forgive me for mocking an accent, but I just have to do the whole thing. Sitting in a loincloth and saying, well, what happens is the first time that the soul becomes ignorant and ignorance goes into the blood. That's why it becomes an individual, because it is ignorant of its divine essence, which is pure nonsense. Pure, utter, complete nonsense. The soul doesn't become individuated because it got confused, because it's now full of ignorance of itself. It didn't do it because somehow it got trapped and pulled into manifestation and now it's lost in the illusion of having an identity. Oh my God, no, that is not what the soul did. The soul, in its whatever we can't understand now, beyond our comprehension, said, I want to experience my own individual essence. And as soon as that happened, it was completely engulfed in orgasmic bliss. So much so it needed nothing else. And it covered itself with the Maya Kosha, with the enjoyment, the Ananda Maya Kosha, the bliss enjoyment. That's your soul. So when you talk about being spiritual and going to your true essence, you can't do that if you're not happy. Period. End of discussion. You can carry your cross all day long. You can lash yourself on the back. You can go into the wilderness and you can fast for 1 billion years and you can stand on one foot and you can do all that stuff. And if that isn't bringing you bliss, you're wasting your time. You're accomplishing nothing except being lost in the false humility, which is pure ego of I am dying to myself. And, the only reason that I really understand this, more than I ever have before in my life, is because having interacted with higher dimensional beings and shifting myself into a higher dimensional state, that's the deeper I go to higher dimensions, the more bliss I experience. Now, make no mistake, it is very challenging to my third dimensional ego. It's very traumatizing. But if I want more bliss, I got to die to the 3D. If I want to be more spiritual, if I want to be more spiritual, it means I have to expand myself to be able to experience more and more orgasmic bliss. This is the 5D we're headed towards. As I'm talking about it, I'm getting filled with it. I can feel the higher dimensional beings going, yes, finally, somebody, yeah, they're very excited about this. The understanding that your spiritual advancement is all about you experiencing orgasmic bliss. That's the end point. That's the goal. And ironically, you have to die to your three-dimensional ego to experience that. But that's not what you've been told. You've been told that bliss and enjoyment in the Christian religion is sinful. You've been told in even the superficial, yogic understanding, no, we can't get lost in the maya of self gratification. We have to. It's all nonsense. It's all BS. It's all misunderstandings. We have to awaken to the truth, which is to be spiritual, is to experience unbelievable bliss. The bliss of your soul. So much so that you need nothing but to be in the bliss of your soul. So, Brahman, your soul, comes into causation and clothes itself in bliss. This then creates an astral body. Then the soul says, I want to enjoy wisdom. And then the soul says, that was cool, I want to enjoy emotions. And then the soul says, that's so cool, I want to experience life force energy. And then the physical body is manifested. And then the soul says, I want to enjoy this physical body. Oh, yeah. You cannot be spiritual if you are physically sick, unhappy, and miserable. And what is it that people say almost all the time? They say it to me, they've said it to other teachers throughout history. How can I escape the bonds of this horrible incarnation? How can I merge back into the emptiness and get out of having an identity? I get asked that all the time. If you're asking that question, it's understandable. But it means that you are not happy. I'm not judging you. I know you're supposed to walk around and say love and light and I'm happy, but you also talk about wanting to leave. You want to evolve. Why are there people like Babaji, and there are others, who have been here for thousands of years and they go out of their way to keep their physical body? Is it because they're torturing themselves? They're forcing themselves to do it for others. I'm just here to help others, and so I keep this body. I wouldn't have that person as my teacher. If that's what physical immortality meant, I would walk away from that. The Chinese, the Taoists, in fact, the Taoists don't talk about enlightenment. It's one of the reasons I like Taoism so much. Taoists, they talk about becoming perfected immortals. Everything they do isn't about release from the physical body and release from existence. They want to have a physical body that lasts forever. They want to keep the identity that they have. They don't want to have to keep forgetting and remembering. So they don't want to go into reincarnation because they're on a project. And they want to keep that project going. They want to keep their body physically alive forever. This is enlightenment, not escape. So you can't run away from your problems, because I'm here to tell you, you created them. We're going to take a look at how you did that. So you have Brahman, which then creates the causal body, and then the soul enjoys covering of bliss. The astral body is created, and within the astral body there is the wisdom enjoyment sheath and then emotions, and then life force, which creates the physical body, and then there's the physical enjoyment sheath. Today we are going to be talking about the bliss enjoyment sheath. Now, the other thing that you haven't heard, which I was very happy to hear about, is that each enjoyment sheath, each Maya Kosha, each covering of the soul has 5 parts to it. And it looks exactly like a physical body. So the 5 parts to each of the coverings are the head, the arms and the shoulders, the trunk, the genitals, the glutes, and the thighs. That's 1. And then the feet is the 5th one. And each one of those sections has a specific meaning to it. So you can determine your emotional, psychological, and spiritual health by that. So the idea is that you activate and empower all of these, and then you're going to be healthy and happy and physically immortal. Death comes as a result, and illness. Death, illness, insanity, unhappiness, poverty comes as a result of one or more of the 20 aspects of the soul sheath being either non-existent, imbalanced, or weak. So everything in your life, from physical illness to emotional problems to psychological problems to even being able to, be successful and have a career, all of those things are a result of either the health or the imbalance of maybe just one aspect. So if we look at we look very quickly at the bliss sheath. The first one is the genitals, glutes, and thighs. Forget about that. We'll talk about that. But the head. So there might be something that the head of your bliss enjoyment sheath might be, non-existent or might not be functioning, which means you will experience a lack of bliss. And how many people here can say that they live in bliss? How many people listening to me can even say that they have the tiniest bit of bliss? Most people in the 3rd dimension are not very happy. So this is probably the most important sheath to look at, because if we can look at all of the 5 aspects of the bliss enjoyment sheath and learn what to do to activate and empower them, we can have happiness. It's not impossible. All right, so that's what we're going to get into today. Before we go any further, if you're new to the channel, Question Your Reality. Online classes and personal mentorship at thunderwizard.com. That's where you're going to get all of the good stuff is going to be there. We'll talk about that. If you're new to the channel, I need you to subscribe, like, and comment. Hit the bell icon. Or as the kids say, smash the bell icon so that you can be notified whenever I upload or whenever I'm doing a live video. I also need you to subscribe, like, and comment so that it'll keep YouTube promoting the video so that this can go viral, which is my goal. And I want you to click on the free playlist page. There are 2 I want you to focus on. Forget about the Maoshan Qigong for a second. The interdimensional meditation is there, will always be there. It is free guided interdimensional meditations, and the 12 steps to 5D. I want to thank those people who have gotten back to me about the 12 steps to 5D, who said they've been doing it and it has been magically transforming them. I want to thank you for sharing that with me, because it really is. That stuff is there for free. The interdimensional meditation, 12 steps to 5D. Then I need you to go and subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, which can be found at the thunderwizard.com website, as well as the shop. And the shop, we are going to have the other 3 Maya Kosha teachings on the shop. In the shop, you go to thunderwizard.com, click on shop, and you'll see all of these really cool teachings. Some of them as low as $10 and others more. But Go and check that out. I need you to take advantage of what I have and learn, because that's what keeps me paying the bills. All right, so YouTube's going to throw up an ad here in just a second. We'll come back. Stay tuned. We're going to get into more. All right. So let us go more deeply into this. All right, so we've got the 5 levels of the soul and the 3 bodies, the 3 bodies and the 5 souls. We've gone through all that. Today we are going to talk about the bliss enjoyment sheath, which is the first experience when the soul comes into a self-identification, and the only thing it can do when it says, I want to become an individual, the only thing it can do is just simply have orgasmic bliss. It gets completely wrapped up in the bliss of being a self, the opposite of what you've been told. So we're going to talk about this number 1, the soul's ability to enjoy experiencing bliss. That means if you're not experiencing bliss in your life, it means that you don't have the power to enjoy it. And it also means you have the inborn right as a soul to be in bliss 24/7. If you can just understand what to do for that to happen. So let's take a look. I've already talked through this. Purpose of incarnation is not a punishment for sin. The soul chooses to manifest in multiple forms for the sheer pleasure of enjoying the expression of self-awareness. The secret to complete physical health and longevity is to fully express the joy of all 20 aspects of the soul expression. Remember, each soul covering has 5 aspects to it. 5 times 4 is 20. All disease, mental, spiritual, physical, is a direct result of imbalance or debility in one or more of the 20 aspects of the soul sheath. So if you want to cut to the chase and figure out how to do this in one fell swoop, read my book at the bottom, The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. That will take care of all 20 aspects if you fully do what I teach you in that book. Let's talk about the bliss sheath. What are the 5 parts of bliss enjoyment sheath? First one is the power of God to exist. And the section of the body that it creates is the genitals, glutes, and thighs. So we need to stop there for a second. Now, that first one, that's not something that you need to worry about, because you can't exist either as a spirit. Forget about being a human being. If you're a human being walking around, even if you're in a hospital bed and you're barely functioning, but your eyes are open and you're breathing, then the first aspect, which is the genitals, glutes, and thighs of the bliss sheath body is existent, and it always will be. Because without it, it means that you didn't become a soul. You didn't become a self-identified soul. So every single conscious being, no matter how far down the scale or how messed up they are, they have this. So you don't have to worry about it. However, what is it that the genitals, glutes, and thighs, what does that area of the body do? Well, the genitals, obviously, that's creation. So it says the power, it's called, as we look at it here, the power of God to exist, or the power of Brahman to exist. So that, and this is how life, even physical life, is born. What happens? Genitals come together, and then boom, another being is created. So that part, you don't have to worry about it, except for this one aspect of it. If you take a hypothetical person who's absolutely miserable, that has zero joy in their life. They exist, they're conscious of themselves, they're human, and they're walking around, and they're the most unhappy person that's ever existed. Well, if we were to look at their bliss enjoyment sheath, their Ananda Maya Kosha, if we were to look at that, we would probably see that all 5 aspects of it are non-existent or damaged except for one. which is the glutes, genitals, and the thighs. So it means that the genitals, the procreative aspect of the bliss enjoyment sheath was working enough to bring them into conscious existence. But that's it. So what else is there? The other thing that's connected to all that is the what? The excretion, the rear end, the butthole, the stuff that you release, the toxins and the unusable food. You're able to excrete what you don't want, right? So what it means, there's a reason why we call people assholes. Because it means the only thing that they have an ability to do is get rid of things, is to crap on everything. It means that they don't have the ability to pick and choose between what they want to keep and what they want to get rid of. They see everything as toxic. They see everything as something undesirable. They see everything as something to reject. So in order to have joy, you must also have the ability to reject what you don't want. Right? Because otherwise, if a physical body, if you don't have excretory abilities, then you're going to get toxic and die. You have to learn to let go of stuff, get rid of stuff, get rid of what you don't want. So somebody who's miserable on all aspects, the only thing that's functioning in their bliss enjoyment sheath is the ability to reject what they don't want. So what they see is they don't want anything. They're rejecting life. They judge everything. You've run into people like this. They badmouth everything. Everything, all they do is complain. Complaining, when you complain, you're trying to reject. You're rejecting, pushing away. When you judge, you're pushing away. You're excreting. You're crapping it out. So they have literally a crappy attitude. They're rejecting everything in life. And even though that's their bliss enjoyment sheath, it's the one part that is about getting rid of what you don't want. So if you're miserable, one thing you can do is ask yourself, how often do you complain? Every time you hear yourself complain, your bliss body is pooping out something that you might want to keep. It's telling you, it's having bliss diarrhea. Whatever goes in, it goes straight out. They can't digest anything, hold on to anything. These are miserable people who complain all the time about everything. So we don't want that. So that's why we start with that one. Everybody has that part. Even if they have none of the other parts of the bliss enjoyment sheath, they have the butt, the thighs, and the genitals. I'll say, you're pissing all over everything. They have the ability to piss on everything and crap on everything. That's all they have to do if all they are is miserable. However, if you're happy, you do have the ability to reject what you don't want. That is a worthwhile thing. Looking at the second aspect of the bliss enjoyment sheath, this is the power to love unconditionally. This is the head. And the Sanskrit name for that is called Priya. This is beautiful. Priya is the Sanskrit word for that affection, being able to give love, to give affection. It really, my understanding of it is it means to be able to love unconditionally. Because it's one thing if you have affection for somebody, but only if you can get what you want from them. You're looking at some hot guy or some hot girl in a bar and you feel affection for them. It's because you want to grab them, you want to consume them in some way or other. And that's what you like about them. But just to look at them and to just marvel that they exist and to have a desire for that being to continue to exist and enjoy and expand and evolve without any thought for yourself. This is true affection. This is Priya. Now, I personally like this because In the Norse mythology, who is the queen of the gods? She is the wife of Odin. Her name is Frigga. This is the same word. It's just a Germanic pronunciation of the Indo-European word. If you take the word Priya and you hand it to a Germanic tribesman thousands of years ago, they will pronounce it Frigga. That's how it'll come out. Not Freja. People conflate. People even think Frigga and Freja are the same person because it sounds the same. Nope, two completely different words. They have completely different meanings. So the head of bliss, the starting point, because what is the head? The head is consciousness. The head is the ability to see, to hear, to understand, to appreciate, to plan, to have ideas, to comprehend. That if you don't have a head, you don't have it. You don't have anything. You can't do anything. So the first step after coming into existence is to then have the ability to love others unconditionally. If you're miserable, are you loving people unconditionally? Now, I'm not talking about the codependent, soul flame, soul contract nonsense that's going around. That's not love. The need to fix others, the need to be attached to others, the need to get other people's love and approval, constantly going around and giving to people, constantly fixing, constantly helping, because you have an unconscious or unvoiced desire to be loved and accepted. And then you're one of those people that says, I do everything for everybody. I love everybody and nobody loves me. That's somebody that has no head. It means that the head of your bliss enjoyment sheath is non-existent because you don't have the ability to just simply look at somebody and go, wow, that being exists. That is cool. I want that being to be happy. I don't even need for them to even know I exist. What can I do to help that being exist? This is the mother. The mother, of course, healthy mothers, look at the child and go, they don't think of themselves, they go, this perfect little being is so unique and so amazing. What can I do to help this being thrive and survive? This is the head. So if you want to be happy, write this down. Learn how to love unconditionally. Learn how to help people be themselves and appreciate it. Seek that ability to go, you know what? That being is beautiful all by itself. It doesn't need anything from me, and I don't need anything from it. I'm happy because you exist. See if you can do that. If not, start working at it. You'll start building a head, and then bliss will come. I heard this, there was some video about this whole thing about trad wife things, right? And some woman was talking about how she's married to her husband and that she used to be unhappy because she was constantly asking herself if her husband was giving 100% to her all the time, and was he doing his job? And then she stopped. Somehow she got this awareness, and she said, you know what? I'm going to just focus on giving to him what I think I want him to give to me. So she focused all of her energy on making him happy, giving to him, nurturing him, and the strangest thing happened. She started getting happy. She wasn't thinking about what she was going to get from him. She just enjoyed loving her husband. Now, of course, that's only going to make him love her back more. But the point is, she wasn't thinking about what he was going to give to her. She was thinking about just objectively, not codependently doing it to get something or doing it out of guilt. She was just doing it for the sake of doing it, and it gave her joy. She took her head and screwed her head back on. So that is the head, the power to love unconditionally. Remember, we're talking about what we need to do to have bliss. Because if we're not able to do this, it means our bliss enjoyment sheath is either non-existent or damaged. So the third is the power to give pleasure. And this is the feet. It's called moda. Oh, there's so many places I want to go. I'm not going to go right now. But the power to give pleasure. So we haven't even talked about you experiencing pleasure for yourself from other people or just in yourself. First thing that has to happen is you have to learn how to love unconditionally. Second thing is you have to learn how to give other people pleasure. Give somebody a back rub and not want one in return or need one in return. This is why we have birthdays. Birthdays are an amazing thing because it's the one day out of the year where people praise you simply because you exist. They give you gifts simply because you chose to be born. That's giving pleasure. Doing things for others. So if you're miserable and you're constantly saying you want things from other people and nobody does what you want and all of that, then here's a solution. This will put feet onto your bliss enjoyment sheath. Do a good deed for at least one person every single day. Now, here's the catch. They can't know that you did it. It has to be something that makes them happy, not something that you think would make you happy or make them happy. You have to spend time finding out what it is they like, what makes them happy, and you have to come up with ideas to do a good deed. They might not even know you did it. Maybe they will know that somebody did something for them, but they don't know who it was. But you can't let them know that it was you. If they find out it was you, it doesn't work because now you, at the very least, get some thanks or some ego out of doing it. If you do that every day, you will gain feet on your bliss enjoyment sheath. Next one is the power to receive pleasure. Now, finally, we get to the part that you want. You want to be able to be happy. You want to be able to have bliss. You have to have the ability to receive. This is a big deal. You know, I wasn't married for 10 years, but I lived with my ex-wife for 10 years. So for all intents and purposes, I was married for 10 years. I was married for almost half that time, but we were together for 10 years. Lived together. And I completely was focused on trying to fit into her reality and trying to be what she wanted. And I didn't know how to have somebody give to me. No. Anyway, and one of them was romantically in the act of lovemaking. I had difficulty allowing myself to experience and enjoy just I had to constantly be performing. And I was focused on that. So I won't tell you how I did it, but I did learn how to heal that. And it was very, very liberating to just learn how to focus on my own enjoyment, my own pleasure. This is a big deal. If you can't do this, you're not going to be able to be happy. And here's something that I learned. Learning how to accept love and affection and good deeds from others is actually a very wonderful gift of love to them. Because how does it make you feel when you try and give to somebody? You try and make people feel good and they either can't accept it or they reject it. It hurts. It's painful. Even if in their mind they're good because they're not being selfish. But you can't be in a relationship without wanting to explore and enjoy allowing somebody to just be happy and to give your love to them. You have to learn how to receive it. This is more important than how it sounds, because if you want to interact with higher dimensional beings, the first thing they're going to want to do is pour all kinds of love onto you in an intense way you've never experienced in the third dimension. And if you don't have the ability to accept it, you will end up shutting that off and pushing them away. You'll get angry, you'll get scared, you'll get paranoid. Now we can talk about, there's a mental illness called borderline personality disorder. And the thing about people that have this mental illness, now that I know from a yogic perspective, one of the things that could heal them and heal their bliss enjoyment sheath is learning how to actually receive love. Not just receive pleasure, not when you're looking at somebody as an object, because they do that, and using people as an object without realizing there's another person on the other end of that. Really allowing somebody's love to penetrate into your heart. They can't do this. So if you know anything about this mental illness, what happens is they think that they love you, they throw all kinds of love onto you, they do things for you, which makes you think that they love you. Then that makes you want to love them back, and when you love them back, they, out of nowhere, when you feel the most connected to them, when you feel the most vulnerable and engaged, and when you feel the most safe, because now your love has been given to them, and now you've completed the circuit and you have a relationship in your mind, right at that moment, every single time, out of nowhere, they will completely flip on you. And they will do what's called splitting, which is they will start calling you horrible names. They will accuse you of doing and thinking and intending the worst thing that anybody could do. They'll call you evil, horrible, narcissistic. They'll even do things like go to the cops and say that you abused them when you didn't. They'll say you stole things when you didn't. They'll slash your, they just out of nowhere become the most horrific people, either by ghosting you or attacking you, or like I said, even in some cases, completely destroying your business or your career, or putting you in jail for something you didn't do. And the only reason they do that is because it's impossible for them to accept love. They don't have the ability. So if you look on their bliss enjoyment sheath, their arms and shoulders will be missing. Because the ability to embrace, to pull somebody toward you, that's what the arms and shoulders are doing on the bliss sheath. You have to have arms and shoulders to be able to pull what you love towards you, to nurture it, to hold it, to value it, to accept it. Are you miserable? Are you able to do this? The fifth part of the body is the trunk. The trunk of the body. Now, without a head, you can't exist. Without a trunk, you can't exist. Somebody chops your head off, you're dead. Now, it just so happens that you'll still be a human being if you don't have a head in your bliss enjoyment sheet. But nobody will want to be around you. You won't want to be around anybody else. You'll just have the ability to reject and crap all over everything. But you also can't survive if you don't have a trunk. If you don't have a trunk, you can't have bliss. So if you don't have what the trunk represents, you're not going to be able to have happiness. So the trunk, the power to experience contentment, it's called Ananda. Ananda is, one of the translations is the end to drama. So at the end of a play, instead of, the end, it'll say Ananda in Vedic plays. And it means the end of the drama. What does drama mean? The emotions are going through the roof or they're going through the floor. You're crying and miserable and sad and angry and full of angst, or you're bliss and happy. And contentment is none of those things. Contentment is, I don't need anything. Peace. I'm enjoying the peace that comes from being fully satiated. I don't need anything right now. Calm, relaxed, peaceful, contented. I can say this about this part of my life. There's been parts of my life when I've been crazy happy. There have been parts of my life where I have been miserable beyond belief. What my life is like lately is contented, which is a different experience. Because when you're on the top and you're just super, got whatever happy, you could fall from that. But when you're contented, you're just comfortable. That means that you've consumed, like you've had a good meal, and you've eaten to your fill. You didn't eat too much. You ate just enough. This is contentment. So these are the 5 things. By the way, who's this? Silent Aroma threw $100 at me. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. So the bliss enjoyment sheath. Once you become a soul, you then become wrapped up in bliss, orgasmic bliss, and you have the power to exist, to create your bliss, as well as get rid of things you don't want. That's the genitals, glutes, and thighs. That's every single person alive has that part of them going, but maybe nothing else. But the second part is the head, which is the ability to love unconditionally. If you don't love unconditionally, you won't be happy. The third is the feet, which is the power to give pleasure. If you can't give pleasure unconditionally, you won't be happy. The fourth is the power to receive pleasure, the arms and shoulders. The fifth is then the power to experience contentment, which is the freedom of the extremes of the drama. The drama is over. We have resolved the play. And now that we've gone through all the drama of the play, it has become resolved, and we are now full and content. I can die now. So, this is the first installment. This is lesson number 1 of the 5 levels of the soul and the 3 bodies. We have more coming up. I've just uploaded to the shop at thunderwizard.com. I've just uploaded lesson number 4, which is the Pranamaya Kosha, which is the life force enjoyment sheath. And that is a good place to start, because that is the closest soul sheath that we have access to. So we have if we look at the bodies again, we've got the causal, the astral, and the physical body. So the physical body just has the physical enjoyment sheath. So when we want to go deeper than that, the first one we hit, as you can see, is the life force enjoyment sheath. If you don't have life force, if you don't have prana, if you don't have chi, you're dead. The last thing that leaves, when the last bit of prana leaves your prana enjoyment sheath, you're dead. So everybody should be well versed in how to access life force energy, how to balance it, how to fill your body with it. Because once you do that, you'll have the power then to do the work to access the rest of them, which is your emotions, your wisdom, and of course your bliss. So those will be available, but the first one is already up. It's already up on the thunderwizard.com website. And again, to get there, you go to the shop. So you go to thunderwizard.com and you'll see the shop menu there. You'll click on the shop menu and you will see that. I'm going to upload the other 2 soon. This is the first one. So this one you get for free because everybody deserves bliss. I love bliss more than anything, and it's the closest thing to your soul. So of course this is something I want everybody to understand. But if you want to talk again about the power of prana, of chi, of life force, I have many other tools. One of them is the Maoshan shamanic spirit fighting moving forms. To learn more about that, let's listen to Mahadeva explain it. The Maoshan wood element moving shamanic kung fu form is the most powerful and advanced method I've ever used to tap directly into the power of pure spirit, of pure energy. These moving forms work with the 8 directions in ways that allow you to literally channel and summon higher dimensional energies. This particular package includes what you see here, which is called the Sifu hands. I also give you detailed footwork instruction, which connects to the energy centers at the bottom of the feet. And when you put the hand movements, the foot movements, and the alignment of the body together, you actually are able to channel the deity known as ether, or in Taoist understanding, wood. It's available now at thunderwizard.com. Go and click on the shop menu. You will see it there. The rest of the elements, metal, fire, water, and earth, will be coming soon. Alrighty, so that is the wood set, which is also available in the shop. And if you don't know if you want to learn all 5 elements, you can learn the wood by itself, because it is the ether element, which is pure chi, pure life force energy, and it will benefit you. And when you watch the lesson number 4, when we talk about the Pancha Kosha, you will learn how beneficial it is for not only physical but emotional and spiritual health. You've got to have prana. If you don't have that, you won't be able to access anything. The rest of your nothing. Without prana, you have nothing. So anyway, that's available for you there as well. I'm happy to take a look at if there's any questions. Let's see here. Okay, those are some interesting things there. Anyway, well, you guys are having some enjoyable interactions. I'm not going to get involved in that. You can talk amongst yourselves if you like. I don't see any questions. I do have this Silent Aroma again, threw down $100. I really appreciate that. And let's see. So I don't have any more things that I want to say about this, but before we go, I do need to let you know everything that is available to you here on this channel. So we've already talked about the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, which is the 3 energy practices. You won't find this anywhere. It has Qigong, and the Qigong I teach is the most powerful Qigong available. Prove me wrong. Every person who has done my practices, even if they're Qigong masters, Tai Chi masters, they all come back and they say the same thing. I've never experienced anything with this level of power, at this level of frequency. The other thing that is in there of the 3 energies, the first one is Chi, life force energy. Second one is Kundalini. I teach you some powerful Kundalini yogic methods which will activate the higher dimensional consciousness energy. Now, a lot of people think that Kundalini, they conflate Kundalini and Prana, Kundalini and Chi, because they'll say, and I could quote to you extremely famous Indian yogic teachers who say this, and they're completely wrong. They'll say Kundalini is the life force energy. It is not the life force energy. That is Chi, Prana. Kundalini is the higher dimensional consciousness, which only humans, I'd like to say only humans have. I could be wrong about that as well. But so you get Chi and Kundalini, and then you get the 3rd energy, which you won't find anywhere. And that is something, to my knowledge, only the Maoshan Taoists had. And that is the understanding of what's called the Shin, or the heart mind. And this is the power of the electromagnetic field that surrounds the heart. We all know that. If you have a heart attack, what are the first thing they do? They put electricity into you to jolt your heart back to life. So this electromagnetic field is here to keep the soul safe from the harshness of the 3rd dimension. So it's normally self-contained, but when you do specific movements that open up specific meridians, all of the 5 elements, as it turns out, that are focused here in the heart, this electromagnetic energy then explodes outwards into your whole aura. And then now you have a vibration that even most humans don't have. This is why the Mao Shan had the ability to fight demons with their bare hands. The rest of the Taoists, they light incense and they do prayers, and that works. That'll get rid of the demons and the ghosts. But the Mao Shan guys would just walk in, and they would just, with the power of their energy of their own hands, they could get rid of any negative energy. The reason for that is they were able to tap into this protective power of the soul, the electromagnetic force called the Shin. I am the only person that has synthesized these three energies from different practices all over the world into one practice, and I've done all the testing for you, meaning that it's safe. Normally you mix and match things, you're going to hurt yourself. I've done all of the testing for you, and I can tell you that what I teach is absolutely safe. It's the most powerful you'll find. You can find that by subscribing to the 90-day challenge here, as well as if you want to do the Mao Shan Shamanic Kung Fu, you can do that as well, which you can find on the shop. All right, so now we've got a question, so I don't have to try and sell you stuff here. Let's see, Zinc has a question. Zinc, I encourage you to write the word question in all caps. I think I've said this to you before, but you can listen to it again, and that's so I can see your question. Otherwise, I'll pass it by because it's just a bunch of, just the word question in all caps. That'll get my mind. That's, you can do me a favor. You are thinking kindly, unconditionally, lovingly towards me, because that helps me. You're being loving towards yourself because you are giving me the ability to help you by noticing you. So please write the word question in all caps. You say, now that you live in Australia, have you done much spiritual work with the Aboriginals and their dream time stories? I have not. Want me to say more on that? No, I listen, here's what I do. I'm not presumptuous. So I think it's presumptuous of me, just because I'm in Australia, to go track down, the Aboriginal guys wherever they might live and say, hi, I'm from the United States and I'm a spiritual person and you should teach me. I think it's very presumptuous. I don't know if there are, if they're even interested in teaching people. I'm sure there are. I also follow what the universe gives me. The universe will guide me. As it turns out, believe it or not, you can choose to believe it, accept it. I don't talk about it again for reasons, but in meditation, since I've been here, there have been what appear to be Aboriginal spirit teachers that come and teach me. Now, are they teaching me the tradition? I don't know. So to answer your question, no, I don't have any experience in that as of yet. If that happens, nobody will be happier than I about it. Stephanie asks, let's see, is this a question? Yes, question mark. So Stephanie, do me a favor, write the word question in all caps at the beginning of your comment so that I notice that it's a question. You say, Thunder Wizard, I remember you said that 5D was a state of consciousness and not a place. I not only said that, I said that 5D is a frequency, not a place, not a location. You say, I mentioned that in another chat room and was ripped to shreds. There was insistence that it's a place. And that's a question? You're asking me a question? I don't know how to answer you. What would you like me to do about what somebody else says? I'm sorry that they said that to you. I don't like being ripped to shreds. That must not have been pleasant. What do you want? What do you want? You want me to argue the case of why? Well, I've already explained that. People are free to have their own experience and their own opinions. And I don't have a problem that somebody believes it's a place. I mean, it'll be a physical place. And for all intents and purposes, it might feel like a different place than this. And I've heard it described that it's another planet. We're just talking words. So I don't know. The thing is, people have their opinions and people don't like to be challenged on their opinions. So I have a channel, so I can say whatever the hell I want. I can grandiosely throw out all of my opinions and give my judgments on other opinions, but this is my classroom. I get to do that. I don't go onto other people's channels. I don't go onto chat rooms, and I don't try and talk people into my thing. And so I think that's just what happens when you get on these chats. There are going to be other people there with their opinions, and if you have a different one, they're going to slice you to threads. Unless they're kind enough to be able to say, well, that's your opinion and that's interesting. Let's discuss that. Most people don't. Most people are insecure, and I get that and I understand that. Part of that, I have compassion for them as well, because if they're judgmental and they can't tolerate a slightly different opinion. The thing that's interesting is that you guys aren't coming together and celebrating 5D's coming. 5D is an experience. You could say, oh, okay, he could have said, I don't care if it's a place or a frequency, I could care less. It's real, and we're going there. He didn't say that. Or she or whoever it was said, what do you mean? What do you mean it's not a place? How dare you? You're forgetting the whole point. The whole point is 5D, not whether it's a place or a frequency. It's a minor detail. It's an important point if you choose to believe it, because it means that you get to shift your frequency. And if you shift your frequency, you can access it. So why I teach that and why I think it's a valuable detail, because I honestly, truly don't care. I don't care if it's a place. I don't care if it's on the other side of the universe and I have to take an extraterrestrial taxi to get there. I could care less. I don't care if it's here, and I don't care. What I care about that is I want anything that gives me the ability to make the decision to start the process myself. So if you say it's a place, that means I have to wait around for the taxi to show up. But if you say it's a frequency, then I go, oh, so it's right here? Yeah, it's just a different frequency. Oh, can you tell me how I can actively choose to change the frequency? I'm interested in that discussion. So that's why I say that. I say that not to be correct, because I seriously don't care. I say it because it gives you power. And the one thing I am absolutely devoted to, my entire existence from here on out, is about giving you power to achieve everything you want. So when I tell you that 5D is a frequency, it's because I am giving you permission to take complete control over your shift. And if you don't want to wait for a solar flash event and you want to get started now, great. Start shifting the frequency. Everything we're talking about today is shifting your frequency. And what have you got to lose? If I'm wrong, I'll still be okay. That'll be my ticket. The bus will come by and it'll say, do you have a ticket? And I'll say, yeah, I've got this 5D frequency that I've been working on. I'll say, oh, great, come on. So it doesn't matter, no matter whether it's a place or a frequency or none of the above. The only thing that matters is we are actively taking action towards doing what we can to get the process started. But I'm sorry that they were mean to you. Ariel says, thank you. You're welcome. I look forward to our next interaction. Ariel is one of my apprentices. In case you want to work with me directly, personally, go here to thunderwizard.com and subscribe to one of the apprenticeship subscriptions, and then you can work with me personally as well. I'll say this, everybody should have a mentor, a teacher, a guide. And it doesn't have to be me, I'm not saying that, but you should have somebody. I have one. I don't agree with him all the time, but I definitely have somebody that I look to and that knows me and that I bounce things off of and take advice from when necessary. And so, it's very hard for us to do this thing alone. We should all have that. So I recommend that. Okay, where are we? FIM sample CG question. What should I do if the person discovered my good things that I've been doing to them secretly and I don't know they found out? I ask because I want to integrate these methods better. I worry about that when it happens. I don't know. Smile and shrug your shoulders and say, you caught me. I just want to do something nice for you. I don't know. You don't need to make a big deal out of it. You get caught, just make it more interesting next time to do it without them knowing about it. Or you'll have to find somebody else because that person now knows. Now you can just give them gifts and they'll know it's coming from you. You can find somebody else that doesn't know. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Have fun with it. It's not a big deal. Nothing's a big deal. This is the point. Nothing is a big deal. Nothing. The reason why we have big deals is because we decide that we have big deals. But, look at how the soul came into being. Brahman was there, pure soul consciousness. It said, I want to have fun. I want to become somebody. Oh my God, this is so much fun. I'm now a person. I'm now an identity. There's nothing, they didn't come into being because of a big deal. There's no such thing as a big deal. A big deal is just an escape from your true essence. Ananda, bliss, contentment, the end of drama, the end of conflict. Let's see, Stephanie ran out of room. She says, I ran out of room. No, it didn't bother me. I just wanted clarification. Listen, it's just, again, that's not a big deal. I like that belief. I believe that's true. But, here's the thing. It's all about perception as well. Both things can be true because it will be a different place. It won't be the same. There will be different details about it, which in essence makes it a different place. It could be physically right on top of you, but your frequency is different, so you experience it. But it doesn't matter. That's perception. Perceiving it as a different place and knowing that it's a frequency, it's not a big deal. It's 5D. That's what's important. So there are some things about this that are helpful to know. Let me elaborate more. So, again, we're going back to yogic understanding. In the yogic understanding, there are multiple lokas, which means places. It's also frequencies. So there's multiple heavens. There's also hells. Now, these are all stacked up in one place. They're all here. All of the hells are physically right where you are. All of the heavens are physically right where you are. Frequency determines which one of those levels or places you experience. For instance, there are hells. These are places that have lower frequencies. The lower the frequency, the more misery and pain and hell you experience. You can experience this right now. Get yourself, choose to have a resentment, get angry at somebody, think about somebody that did something to you 10 years ago, allow yourself to get angry. This happens to me almost on a daily basis, and I have to work to do the techniques to get myself out of it and to not focus on it. But, having a resentment will create a lower frequency and you will be in a hell. You'll be physically in the same place. You might even be able to talk to other people, but your frequency will be in a hell. You want to go even deeper? Go get drunk. That'll lower your frequency into a hell. That's a hell also. You want to go even deeper into hell? Go and slam heroin in your neck. That'll take you even to an even lower hell of misery. So these things are here. It's really helpful to understand that everything you experience is literally a screen, like on your computer. We think we're looking at everything that is. Just like when I take my mouse and I take the little cursor and it goes around and it clicks on things and opens things up. That's not what's really happening. That's just something that is created, a false perception, so that my mind can understand it. But there are other things going on. There's a bunch of ones and zeros doing things that's bringing up other ones and zeros that is then recreated to look like a file and recreated to look like a picture or a movie. But that's not what's really happening. Same thing, you're walking around in your house. I'm going to go down to the beach later. I might even go surfing later. I'm going to be interacting with the objects on my desktop, thinking that it's real. And there's the illusion. There's the Maya. But again, we're just talking about perception. So I don't need to be right, and it's okay if I'm wrong. It's okay if they're right and it's a place and not a frequency. Okay. I'm happy with that. Angels Man, question. Please write the word question in all caps, just the word. You don't have to put multiple question marks. That doesn't make me see it more. What makes me see it more is the size of the letters. Angels Man, question. What frequency do I concentrate on 15? I'm not telling you a specific frequency. You're taking me too literally. I am talking about a frequency, but I don't have a specific frequency for you. Frequency, the way you control the frequency is the access to the energy. You can control the frequency with your thoughts, with the feelings you choose to focus on. I appreciate the question, but that's not going to get you what you need. What else? Ariel says, all I want to say is that I am extremely grateful that you are showing us a 5D frequency. Thank you. I still have a ways to go. I'm not ready, even if I am ready, available. I'm working on it. Well, Ariel, I don't know that I agree that you're not ready. I'm not perfect. That's what I hear you say, is that you have an experience of yourself of not being perfect. I'm not perfect. No way. Not even close. And I can promise you that if you were going in a bad direction, the light beings would not be working with you. And I know, because we work together, I know that they're working with you. So trust me, you're doing just fine. You're having experiences which might be challenging or painful or confusing, or you might even find yourself acting in ways that you don't like, but none of that means that you're not there. I mean, as I say that, I get filled with a huge amount of energy. You know what I'm talking about. That's them saying, that's right, Ariel. You got nothing to worry about. You're perfect just the way you are. We love you exactly as you are. And that, just accepting that, will change your frequency. But thank you for sharing that. It doesn't sound stupid to me at all. I have no judgment towards you whatsoever. Angels Man. All right, so that's not a question. Good for you, Angels Man. I'm happy to hear that things are working out for you. iCup didn't write the word question, but they have a question. How do you know what is real? I have an answer for you. Nothing's real. Everything is a perception. Everything is an illusion. And that doesn't mean that it's not valuable. The experience is real. But, part of understanding what is real, the real question is, what is real for you? What do you want to be real? People's pain is real. That doesn't mean that I have to go there. People's misery is real. People's confusion is real. It doesn't mean I have to experience that. But it's real for them. I have my own things that I experience that aren't real. People ask me this question, which might be how you're asking. When I say higher dimensional beings come into my room just phased out of the third dimension, so I can't physically see them with my physical eyes, but I'm bombarded with this blissful higher dimensional energy that feels like pressure on my chest, and then I feel these telepathic communications, and people will say, well, how do you know that's real? Might be the question. How do you know what I'm going through is real? You don't. If I'm going through it, how do I know it is real? I don't even know if I know if it's real. So that's a question, that's an understandable question, but it's a very third dimensional question. And when you learn how to, let me tell you, ICUP, I don't know whether or not you have experienced the interdimensional meditation. So I recommend that everybody go onto my channel, do the free guided interdimensional meditations, interact with these beings. There are people that come on here and want to debate with me about the essence of extraterrestrials and aliens and all that, and they're not doing this. I say to them, listen, don't worry about what I say. Go ask the ETs yourself. And I can tell when somebody does that and when they don't, and much of the time they don't. They want to keep talking about what they believe and what they read, and maybe they're afraid. I understand that. So stop worrying about what you think is real and about what I think is real, and go and experience it. Experience is the only thing. It's the most practical way of proving or disproving anything. And you can have an experience that you have proven to yourself is real. And nobody else will ever be able to know whether or not that's real if they haven't experienced it. So when I do the interdimensional meditation, and those of you who are doing it, I give you the same advice, you've already heard it, which is whenever I'm off in higher dimensions in my astral body and I'm experiencing things that are so bizarre and so completely out of the realm of everything I've understood and so mind-bending, first thing I do is I don't get attached to it, which means the question of is this real is you're attached to whatever's happening. So I don't get attached to it, meaning I accept it completely at face value. If I have the experience that a higher dimensional being tells me, for example, that I'm 1,000 feet tall with 5 heads, I accept it. I don't try and, I don't mess with it. I accept it. I say, yes, I'm 1,000 feet tall and I have 7 heads. And then when I come back into my 3D body, even though I look in the mirror, I only see 1 head and I'm only 5'8.5", I go, oh, I don't get attached to that. Now, attachment to it is even more difficult, or non-attachment is even more difficult when they say, you're a deity, you're a god. That's really hard not to have an attachment or a reaction to. So I go, oh yes, thank you. I am a god in the 12th dimension and I control the powers of this and that. I say, yes, thank you, that is correct. I don't disagree with them. I come back into my 3D body and I don't be attached to that, because your ego is going to want to say, oh my God, I'm so powerful, or oh my God, it's going to want to do something. So I don't get emotionally attached. That way my ego doesn't start trying to figure out what that means. And then the second thing I do, first is I don't become attached. I agree. I take it at face value, don't become attached. And then the second thing I do is I don't try and figure it out. Asking the question, how do you know something is real? You're trying to figure things out. But if you start from the assumption that we're living in an illusion, that question is meaningless. That's like a character in a video game, stopping the video game, turning and looking at you as you're holding the controller and asking, what of this game is real? It's a worthless question. The answer is, my friend, nothing that you're experiencing is real. It's a bunch of ones and zeros that are creating an experience for you. And I'm manipulating you. None of this is real for you. It's not real for me either. I'm playing a game on a computer and none of it is happening. Everything we're experiencing is literally a dream that is happening on a higher dimension. Your soul is up in a much higher dimension and is dreaming all of this. None of this is real. It doesn't mean that the experiences aren't real, which is the whole point. Let's go back. Brahman is there in pure soul consciousness before self-awareness. Brahman says, I want to have an experience. And then Brahman comes in and creates something that isn't real, which is an identity. The identity isn't real. This is one of the biggest experiences, the most mind-boggling experiences that I've had over the past 2.5 years. In case you're new to the channel, you can go into the playlist called How I Became an Extraterrestrial. And you'll find out what happened when I went out of my way to make contact with ETs, human-initiated contact. That's when all this started. This is what blew this whole thing open. If I had never done that, I would be completely unaware, and I would be bad-mouthing probably 50-75% of what we're talking about. So go find out about that. But one of the most mind-boggling experiences that I continue to have, when I'm in a higher dimension and I'm interacting with these higher dimensional beings. By higher dimensional beings, I mean physical entities from other planets who happen to be in a higher dimension. I'm also talking about beings that don't have a physical body, but are in a higher dimension. I'm also talking about deities. I mean, whatever those ETs did to me, I have the ability to go and talk to deities. Sit down with them and talk to them just like I'm talking to you now, and they talk back to me. When I interact with those beings, depending on what dimension they're at, that's where it is. If they're in the 3rd dimension, they're going to talk just like me and you. If they're in the 5th dimension, they're going to have a higher, dimensional experience. But when you talk to a being that's in the 9th dimension, and that being starts telling you who you are, you will not be able to comprehend the grandiosity of who they say you are. They will tell you things like, you are the being who created multiple universes. You're the God that's in... They will start talking to you like that. I don't care who you are. If you go to those levels, that's how they'll talk. And they'll be dead serious, and there will be this energy that's hitting you. You'll feel this energy on your chest, and your brain will go like this because it won't be able to understand any of what's being given to it. And to understand how that can be is to understand that who you experience yourself to be now is nothing more than a script. It's meaningless. I used to be an actor. So we would get a script and there would be a written character, a being that doesn't exist, a personality that doesn't exist. And I would learn the lines and I would become a character that didn't exist. And what would happen is, sorry, my nose is itchy. What would happen is, when I went on stage, I would have all of the feelings as though it were real. There would be a piece of me in the back of my head that knew that I was acting and it wasn't real and I could stop it at any moment. But if I indulged in it and if I thought about it and I emotionally invested in this person's life, I'd become that person. And I'd have all of the feelings of that person and it would feel real. And then the curtain would come down and then I'd, wipe the tears and I'd go, that was fun. I knew that it wasn't real. It was a fake persona. It doesn't mean that I didn't believe it and experience it. But I had enough awareness to remember who I was before I did it and who I'm going to be when it's all done. You're exactly the same. You're playing a character. It's a fictional character. It doesn't exist. You're playing a character that lives in the 3rd dimension and only has 2 legs and, and all the limitations that come with that, and all of that is made up. None of that is real. But you believe it's real. You believe it's real because your soul says, don't screw up the illusion. I'm having fun. I want to experience this. No, this is real. All of this drama, all of it is real. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Eating the popcorn, your soul, that's your soul eating popcorn, watching the movie. But when you interact with these beings, they pull back the curtains and they help you remember, oh, that's right, I came here from somewhere else and I was a lot more powerful than I am now. And in fact, I was, and then you come in here and you try and live this 3D life. It's a trip. And you start asking that question, what if this is real? And you can choose. You can decide to believe what you want. If it's too painful or frightening to accept that you're a multi-dimensional deity that's just in a video game, if that's too painful for your brain, you can drop back into the part and just close the curtains back up and pretend that it's really happening when it's just a play. That's the craziest part. I now know, though I haven't yet fully, expanded into this, although I'm working on it. Just to let you know, this is what I'm working on. I know that if I made the decision to fully accept my higher dimensional essence, I would completely disappear out of this third dimensional reality. I'm not kidding at the end of every video when I say, if I don't shift myself out of this third dimensional vibration, I will see you very soon. I'm not kidding when I say that. Now, I don't have any expectations of that happening or not happening, but I know it would. In fact, when I was learning this, the Maoshan Kung Fu, very early on, and I was working with another partner and we were practicing the strikes. And the strikes is where you barely touch somebody and you let the energy flow in. When it really happens, you hear this crack. People fly across the room and all kinds of crazy stuff you only see in the movies. Not necessarily flying across the room, but I say that for effect. But it's that kind of energy. And the first time that I did it, hit the guy in this loud crack in the body, and like, oh, and he felt it. For a split second, I knew I could walk through the wall. It wasn't like I was convincing myself. It was just a fact. I could walk through that wall. And the moment that I had that realization, my head said, that's not possible. And then I was back in my physical self again. I have pictures of me when I'm playing many of you guys don't know this, there's some videos of me playing West African shamanic drums with my teachers. These are very, very powerful, very sacred rhythms that bring down the gods and open up the portals. And there are pictures, I don't know what happened to them, but I had them, believe me or not, where somebody took pictures of me while I was playing drums and my head is gone. Like you can see through my head. Like if you would see all of what's behind my head. There's other pictures of me walking across the room and my legs are gone. So the camera's picking that up. Like not my legs are gone, like you can see through what's on the back. Like there's no way that you would know what's behind me unless you could see through me. So I already know from experience of doing this stuff that kind of stuff is already happening all the time. If you are able to make the decision to be whatever you choose, you will instantly become that. Whether that is Shiva, whether that is the universe, whether that is a dragon, whether that is anything you can possibly imagine, is nothing more than the energy of the universe congealing into a form that matches your perception of yourself. Every single thing about you is that. As I say that, I'm getting jolted. The ETs are going crazy. They've been trying to tell us this for years. Any of you listening to me, there is literally nothing. The illusion that you have to achieve something, that you have to be spiritual enough, that you have to burn through your karma, that all of it is a perception. And it doesn't need to be true. It's true if you accept it. Now, the challenge is, what can we do to have the power to change our perception? That's a question we're all seeking the answer to. And you can learn it in little increments. And at the end of every video, if you stay on here and watch till the end, you will see this come up. And I put this up for a reason. You should be doing this every day. What is happening now has never happened before in history. I think in the entire multiverse. What is happening now is that human beings are being given a ticket out. That means up until now, if you were a human, it was virtually impossible for you to even get to the place where you could make the decision to change who you were. Few people could do it. Some of the high masters, the Taoist masters, the Babajis of the world, a few people could do that, but for the average person, it was not available. Up until now, every time a person had a near-death experience, what would happen is that they would be, of course, their soul would leave their body. They would go to another frequency. They go to heaven, however you want to look at it. And what usually happens is they're given a life review where they take a look at their life, how they affected other people, the decisions they made, and they realize whether or not they accomplished what their soul came for, and I have a purpose, I need to go back, or, oh, I missed that, or I did that, oh, I didn't realize petting that dog and giving that homeless guy $1 was the most valuable thing and that changed the world. I didn't have that experience, right? The life review. And it is usually very blissful for them, and they're like, wow, I'm really happy to be here. And then there will be a door or a barrier, and they'll want to go past that because they'll be able to sense that that's where the real bliss is. And if it's a near-death experience where they're coming back, of course, if they come back, it means that they didn't die. The being, whether it's Jesus or God or Buddha or a being of light, however they've manifested that, the guide will say to them, it's not time, you can't go through there. Why not? Because if you go through there, you can't go back, and you're supposed to go back. Or if they give you a choice and they say, you can either go through that portal or you can go back, but you can't do both. So take your time. Do you want to stay, or do you want to leave Earth? And if they either decide to go back down, which of course they always do, or they're encouraged to go back down, they don't go across the other side of that portal. I've been on the other side of that portal, and I'm still human. And that is something that has never happened before. I'm not saying I'm the only one. Everybody else, if you're listening to me, you can experience this. But when you go across that and you come back, you will never be human again. You will never be able to fit inside of a 3D human body. It won't work. You will have to be something different. And you will have to live with knowing that outside of this third dimension, you are something far beyond what is even conceivable. And you'll still be waking up every day and going to work, or going to, making videos, or going and getting groceries, and doing silly things like taking a card and putting it on and paying for something. It's just, there's no way to go through this life after having experienced that and not see it as just it's a video game. That's all it is. And there's no reason to be in the video game and not having a blast, not doing everything in your power to have as much fun as possible. To let anything in this video game bring you down is such a waste of time. So this is the fifth dimension. I don't care if the fifth dimension is a place. I don't care if it's a frequency. What the fifth dimension is being a human and knowing who you really are and doing both at the same time. And when you have that experience, it'll be impossible to hate anybody. It will be impossible to wish ill on anybody. You might struggle with it, but this is why I've said to people, and they don't get it, but I've said, you can't see anybody as evil. And I forget what I said, something along the lines of, it's impossible to shift to 5D if you're constantly thinking about, that there are evil people in the world. There are no evil people in the world. There are people who are very traumatized and they are separated from their bliss sheath, their soul. And they are acting out in ways that are very destructive because they're in a tremendous amount of pain. And they're lost and afraid and alone. And they're attached to their fear and their pain, which is why you can't help them. And until you can see everybody that way, you have somewhere to go. So this is 5D. Maybe I'm in 5D right now. I don't know. I'm definitely in an altered state of consciousness as I'm speaking to you. But anyway, I'm losing my thread here. I think there's some questions that have come up. Pyro X question: is 5D meditation mandatory to shift to 5D to the solar flash? Why would you ask that question? I just got through telling you that there are free guided interdimensional meditations on my channel. So the only person that asks, is this mandatory, is either somebody who doesn't have access to it and wants to get to 5D, but they don't think they have the tools to get it. Well, I've given you the tools. Or they don't want to use the tools. So the only reason that I can see that you'd be asking that question is, I don't want to do the 5D meditation. Can I still go to 5D during the solar flash? And my question to you is, why would you ask that question? If you don't want to go, don't go. You can be wherever you want. You want to be in a normal 3D world, there will be one. You want to stay attached and go to a worse one, you can do that. It's completely your choice. You want to go to 5D, you can do that too. But why would you not want to do the meditation? Especially when I'm handing it to you. Why wouldn't you do it? Is it mandatory? You're not hearing me. Nothing's mandatory. Nothing. Absolutely nothing is mandatory. You want to stop being an individuated soul? You can figure that out. Your soul will go back to Brahman and you can be an unindividuated soul if that's what you want. You're going to find out that's not what you want. You might, I don't know you, but people think they want that, and then they find out pretty quick that, oh yeah, actually I have a lot of enjoying left to do. I don't want to disappear. I was in pain, I'm not anymore, so now that I'm not in pain, I don't want to disappear. I want to have fun. You can do whatever the heck you want. Nothing's mandatory. I don't know why you would ask that question. This isn't like, Jehovah saying, if you don't follow all of my commandments, nobody's doing that. Look, I need the tools. I enjoy them, so I use them. Does that mean that other people won't get there without them? No. Would I want to be without this tool? No. I want as many hacks as I can get my hands on. You want to do it the hard way? That's okay with me. Go right ahead. I don't care. Whatever makes you happy, man. This is the thing. People in their misery. This is one thing I've learned, I found out. People who are in their misery, we look at them and we judge them, or we feel sorry for them, or we want to fix them, and they're miserable. We walk past the alcoholic who's homeless on the street and living in his filth, and we go, that guy, why can't that guy get it together? He should just get to an AA meeting. And why, this is the kind of stuff goes through my head. Why don't people choose to be happy? What the hell's wrong with them? It's because they are in an experiment. Their soul is experimenting with consciousness. And you can't experience bliss if you don't experience pain. So this is why the first thing, when the soul comes into existence, the first thing it experiences is bliss. Then as it goes through, it starts experiencing challenges and pain and all of that. So when we're done with this physical, challenging life and we get back to bliss, we're going to appreciate it a hell of a lot more. It's not going to be nearly as boring. We won't be nearly as entitled. So whatever you choose to do is your experience. I think about this. A lot of people provoke us. And I'm still open to trust me, I'm still very open to human responses. My own human responses. Somebody will say something that I'll experience as a put down. They might be completely unconscious. They might be conscious, might be backhanded, I don't know. But they say something. And if I allow myself to react to it, first I have to acknowledge that I just got my feelings hurt. So I don't push that away. I say to myself, wow, that really hurt my feelings. I really like this person. I want them to like me, and I want them to enjoy what I enjoy, and I want them to think good of me. And that person just made an observation about me or my life, and that doesn't feel good. Now this person whose approval I wanted now just hurt my feelings very deeply. And we pass by this. People do this all the time, and we pretend like it's nothing, but it hurts. It gets in there. So I acknowledge that, and I give myself the time to go, wow, that's really sad that you got your feelings hurt. I'm so sorry, you didn't deserve that. And then I don't react, which is I want to either say something to them, like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why would you say that to me? And then that person's going to hear that and they're going to go, oh my God, why are you flipping out? I didn't mean anything by that. And the next thing you know, you guys are you're enmeshed in this thing. So people provoke you consciously or unconsciously to pull you into their experiment. Because if hypothetically somebody says something about, that's a stupid looking surfboard, and I want to say, you don't understand, this is the most advanced board, and I consciously got it this way, and you don't understand. And then he goes, dude, why are you telling me? And now we're enmeshed in this karmic interaction. I'm now an unwitting volunteer in his experiment. His jab at me, this never happened, but if somebody said that, what a stupid surfboard. That would have been an invitation. Underneath that is his invitation of, I have an experiment. I'm trying to figure this out. I don't want to do this alone. I need your help. Will you come in here and play the opposite? Here's your script. Will you play that guy? Because I need somebody else to stay in this so that I can make something totally meaningless seem like it's real. And I need to have you to help me with that. This is what happens in all relationships. This is what happens in all fights. If you think that Mike Tyson and Jake Paul don't have karma, you are wrong. The only way you're going to get a 27-year-old guy and a 57-year-old guy get in the ring together and people spend millions of dollars to watch it is that they have past life karma together. Guaranteed. Will you come and I mean, think about it. Two guys stepping in the ring that don't know each other and they're going to beat the hell out of each other. That's karma. So if you don't want to create karma, when somebody provokes you, go, oh, they're inviting me. They're inviting me into their experiment. Once you're in their experiment, you're in it. So I don't respond anymore. I allow myself to get hurt. I allow myself whatever pain, and then I let it go and I don't respond. And that way they have to go find another volunteer for their experiment. It's not going to be me. But it's important that each soul fulfill their experiment. When people are done experimenting, they start to wake up. When that alcoholic on the street, in the gutter, living in his filth, when he's done experimenting, he's going to wake up and he's going to go, I need to go to AA. And he's going to get his crap together and he's going to get off the street. So let everybody finish their experiment. Don't get involved. Otherwise, they'll pull you into it and then you won't. Then you're going to be here longer. You don't want to be in this 3D? Stop buying into other people's experiments. The 12 steps to 5D will help you release that. Go on my channel, that's free. What else? Pyro X question. Is 5D the exact same place as this world, but only on a higher interdimensional frequency? That is my current theory, yes. Whether that's true or not, we'll find out. Or not. Maybe we'll go and we won't know. Who cares? We'll go, who cares? I'm having fun. But that is my current understanding at the moment. Thunder says, when I was on vacation, I was very relaxed and thinking of my cat, and I had a split second where I felt like I teleported to my bedroom at home. It jolted me in a way I can't describe. Mind-blowing. A lot of people have had this experience who do work with the pineal gland. So people can do this, and then this is why, again, you got teachers like Babaji and others who can teleport, or supposedly can teleport. That is a function of the pineal gland. By the way, I have an advanced course in the pineal gland. I teach you how to do a mantra called the Huar breath, which you're hearing in the background, which is the mantra for the 5D shift. And given to me by a higher dimensional being, so I share it with you for free. And I teach you a Qigong movement, which will help bring energy up into the pineal gland. And then I teach you how, in meditation, to actually do the pump that pumps the energy up and the fluid up into the pineal gland and gets the rhombohedron crystals vibrating. And when you're able to do that, one of the side effects is you'll be able to teleport. And if you'd like to learn more about that, we can listen to Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard, since you ask. The mantra you are hearing in the background is the Huar mantra. This mantra was literally given to me by a higher dimensional being that beamed into my living room 2.5 years ago and taught me this very advanced frequency. What I've come to find out many things about this mantra is that, number one, this is the frequency for the solar flash 5D shift. The mantra literally means planet Earth transforming to 5D. I've come to find out that this mantra also does something very powerful. It is, in my experience so far, the most powerful technique to stimulate the pineal gland. So just by chanting this mantra that you're hearing, you are stimulating the pineal gland. The pineal gland is the transceiver. It's filled with rhombohedron crystals that, when they vibrate, creates a very concentrated electromagnetic field around not just your head, but eventually your entire body. And this electromagnetic field is at such a frequency that it allows your consciousness to go to higher dimensions, and it opens a portal for higher dimensional consciousness to communicate with you. And over the past 2.5 years, I have used this mantra in all of my interdimensional meditations. I have developed multiple techniques for it, and I want to share these with you. I have so far created the most powerful techniques in my history that have allowed me to go further and deeper into higher dimensions by using this sound both in my physical state, using chanting it, also doing it silently. But there is a way that you can use the pump in the body, which pumps the fluid, what people call the Christos or the Christ fluid, pumps this fluid up into the pineal gland and activates the pineal gland. When you do that exercise combined with this mantra, my experience is there is no more powerful technique to allow you to achieve unbelievable things. I mean, we could talk for hours about the things you can accomplish with this technique. But I would like for you to go to thunderwizard.com and click on shop, and there you will see the advanced Huar mantra technique for pineal activation. There is an introductory video, which is also on the free channel, but I go into depth explaining to you what this is, what the pineal gland does. But I then go and teach you a moving meditation, a Qigong practice using this mantra, which will fill the power of this mantra in your entire aura, as well as show you how to bring the energy up through your spinal column into the pineal and allow this mantra to activate the pineal. And then I teach you a meditative technique where, while you are deep in meditation, you can use a specific technique to further stimulate the pineal gland while using this mantra. So to get that, go to thunderwizard.com, click on the shop menu, and you can find it there. Thank you, and I look forward to meditating with you, perhaps in the new 5D world. All right. Thank you, Mahadeva, for explaining that to us. Let's see, other questions? Stephanie asked question. CERN has stated, it's the particle collider thing, CERN. CERN has stated that it has discovered ghost particles that can pass through walls, but only in another dimension, not in our dimension. Are you describing the same thing? I think so. It sounds like it. Look, I've been doing this kind of, except for the interdimensional talking to light beings directly thing. I've been doing all this stuff for, 40 years now. So when I would talk about other dimensions before, I didn't have the same understanding as I do now. Before, when I would talk about it, like I was just watching a movie now called the Cloverfield Paradox. I don't know if you're a science fiction movie, and they do this experiment and blah, blah, blah. And there's people from like a parallel universe that get mixed together. But they use the word dimension. They'll say, this one person says, I'm from another dimension, and we're in the wrong dimension. But that's a misunderstanding of the words. What they should have said is parallel universe, because it's the third dimension. It's just a parallel universe in the third dimension. So I'm saying that because I couldn't tell the difference. Just like they can't, the people who wrote that movie don't know the difference between higher dimensions and parallel universes. To them, anything that's not part of our encased little reality, is another dimension. Most people, when they talk about other dimensions, that's what they mean. But that's not what another dimension is. And until you experience it, it will never be something that is even, it's like if you're colorblind and somebody starts talking about a color you've never seen, you won't know what the hell they're talking about. You won't be able to comprehend it. So higher dimensions means that it is so foreign to our understanding that it will feel, I don't know how to put words to it. But those of you who've been there, you know what I'm talking about. And so the point I'm not making, but I'm trying to make, is that I have more of a scientific understanding about it than I would have. Instead of spiritualizing it as the other side of the veil, I know now there's no such thing as the other side of the veil. I know that there's no such thing as death now. I know that. I know that the only thing that happens when somebody dies is that they shift to a higher dimension. Their physical body stays here, but the rest of them goes somewhere else. And they have a physical reality. They physically interact, and they can choose to put on another physical body if they want. But they can physically interact with a real world, walk around in a real world that's even more real than this one. So we'll never be able to understand that. But the thing that science will never be able to understand, even assuming that they're not trying to destroy the world with those experiments, the one thing they'll never be able to understand is what happens mentally, emotionally, and energetically. They'll be able to say what they know, which is that, for instance, the fourth dimension, which is just time, but the third dimension has 8 spatial reference points. We can go up, down, right, left, all the movements we can do. And then in the fourth dimension, they have 16 physical reference points, which you can't understand. I don't care if you think you can. I know you can't. I can't. But it means that you can do, in the fourth dimension, you would be able to walk through walls. In the third dimension, you would be able to put your hand in multiple places at once. In our dimension, you could be in multiple places in time at once in our dimension. So that's just if you're in the fourth dimension. So that would mean that the fifth dimension, which is what we're really talking about, if we go to another dimension physically, I don't know if the 5D shift is going to be a shift to 5D or if it'll be just a higher frequency in the same 3D reality. I don't know. I think the latter is probably the most likely. But when we get, and there are beings that are in higher dimensions, physical beings that are interacting with us all the time, communicating with us all the time. We can't see them. The reason why we can't see them isn't because they're hiding. We can't see them for the same reason that if we were looking at a two-dimensional reality, the beings in that two-dimension wouldn't be able to see or hear us. We might be able to stick our finger into their world and do some weird stuff that flip them out, but they wouldn't be able to look and go, oh, it's that third-dimensional guy over there. Oh yeah, I can see and hear him. They wouldn't be able to see or hear any of it. If you talked to a two-dimensional being, this is coming from physics. This is why people should be studying physics, dimensionality in physics. If you were to look at a two-dimensional box and there were two-dimensional beings and you could see them moving around in their two-dimensional world, if you were to say out loud, hello, two-dimensional being, they wouldn't physically hear you. Your hello, two-dimensional being would explode from inside of them and fill the room, and it would flip them the fuck out. They wouldn't understand anything that was going on. They would think they were losing their mind. If you grabbed them and pulled them out of the two-dimensional world and then did something and put them back in, the other two-dimensional beings would see them disappear and then would see them appear again over there. And when they asked each other, what the hell happened, the guy would say, I can't even begin to describe it. I have no idea. I think I'm losing my mind. This is what I'm talking about. This is the best way I can describe what it means to interact with higher dimensional beings and to travel to other dimensions. And the reason why this is important is because this is happening now. And it can happen to anybody. And the only reason that it's happening this much is because this three-dimensional world is coming to an end. And our friends, our family members who are in another dimension looking down on us are doing everything in their power to say, guys, it's time to get out. It's time to move. We got to move on. The game is ending. I don't want you to get trapped in the game and be, in another little server somewhere by yourself. It's time to leave. Wake up. And to understand the gravity of this wasn't what was supposed to happen. What was supposed to happen is that we were supposed to have been following a spiritual path all of these thousands of years, and we would easily shift. There would be no need for all this drama. But we didn't do that. We got trapped in the third dimensional religions and the third dimensional attachment to money and all this lower dimensional garbage, and we're stuck here. We're attached to it. That's why they're so intent on helping us. That's why anybody who does interdimensional meditation, you will have an experience to the level that you're able and willing to experience it. And this is why, up until now, if you died and went to the in-between dimensions and you had an ability to go through the wall to a higher dimension, they stopped you and said, no, if you go back, you can't go back being a human again. And the reason is because you wouldn't fit. You wouldn't be able to fit back in here, and you'd go crazy because you'd have to then live the rest of your life in this thing that doesn't make it. And what's happening is people like me, if you want to know what a hybrid is, people talk about alien human hybrids, which is nonsense. There's no such thing as that. Although humans are trying to create them, they are. But from an ET perspective, there's no such thing. But the closest thing is when you physically and energetically start becoming multidimensional, now you're a hybrid. And this only happens when we're starting to evolve to another species, which means another dimension or another frequency. All right, I got off topic there. Angels Man question. Sorry, without using frequency, what's the best way to handle vibrations? That's only problem. I use vibration term because it's either a machine, ICARs, which is fine, but also negative vibration. So Angels Man, you're not understanding me. Frequency means anything. You can have mental frequency, you can have sound frequency, you can have light frequency, you can have emotional frequency. You're talking about something physical and it's not going to serve you. So if you think you're going to buy a program that has a specific frequency and that's going to get you to 5D, or if you're going to get a certain machine or a certain music or a certain, tape, that you're looking at it far too superficially. That's not how it works. Listening to a frequency isn't going to do it. Feeling a frequency. I have a thing that I use that creates that I sleep with. It's a little thing I put underneath my pillow, and it creates a pulsed electromagnetic field, and it's at a certain frequency. It's the frequency of the earth. It's very healing. So I'm not misunderstanding what you're talking about, using a technology and a frequency. It's not the same thing. There are all different kinds of frequencies in all different kinds of ways. And if you're looking for, if I wanted to go to 5D just by using that and trying to change the frequency, it's not going to work. This is an inside job. What's going to change the frequency is your choice on how you choose to interact with this frequency of reality, which is the third dimension. So that means taking a look at your emotions, taking a look at your thoughts, and taking conscious action. Those are things that will change your frequency. Using a sound or this or a technique or mantra will change your frequency, but these are all tools. Now, is it possible that there's a technology tool that will help? Maybe. But why waste your time with trying to figure that out? I'm giving you the tools. The 12 steps to 5D is the most powerful way to change your internal mental frequency. The Huar breath, the mantra that you now hear in the background, that is the most powerful sound mantra that will shift your frequency. Focusing on doing everything I'm talking about, disengaging from being attached to the drama of karma and all of that, all of those things, doing the Maoshan practices, all of those tools are the most, I'm telling you from personal experience, those are the most powerful tools you can use to shift your frequency. The only thing you need to do now is just have the intention to evolve on whatever level is needed. Do you need to evolve emotionally? Do you have unresolved emotional trauma you have to work through? Then work on that. Do you need to change your ability, how you interact with your thoughts, and learn how to focus your thoughts in a healthy way and get out of your ego? Then do that. Do you need to learn how to love people? Do you need to learn how to accept love? That's what all this stuff I'm talking about is. Everything I'm teaching you will shift your frequency. Every single person who has worked with me one-on-one, every single one of them who has followed my directions and taken my suggestions consistently and with discipline, every single one of them is transformed. And the only way you can transform is when your frequency shifts. The other stuff we're just talking about, these are tools to get the frequency shift. So I get it. You wanna know what you can use to change your frequency. I've given it all to you. I'm not the only game in town. There's other places you can go. But trying to focus on that one thing and that tool, maybe it'll work. I don't know. But I think there might be ways that perhaps could be more powerful for you. Give it a try. What have you got to lose? All right. So angels, man, it's time for you to stop overthinking. Right now, your frequency is you're in a state of codependence. You're trying to convince me this is what codependents do. You don't understand. I need to explain myself better. You're not hearing me. Whenever you're in that state of trying to tell me that I can't hear what you're saying, it means you're not listening to me. That need to have somebody understand you, that anxiety that you have, because you're not in a place of self-empowerment, or you wouldn't keep asking the same question over and over again and trying to keep rephrasing it so that I'm on the level you want me to be at. That's called codependence. I know what you're asking. I may not understand the specifics of what you're saying, but I can feel where you're coming from. You can believe me or not. You're on my channel because to some level you see me as a teacher. So the one thing that needs to happen is you got to trust your teacher. Listen to what I'm telling you. Drop all of this overthinking. You're escaping your pain with all this thinking. Be in your emotions. My suggestion to you is to be in your emotions. So I can see you just put another huge paragraph trying to explain where you're at. So I'm not going to respond to you because now I'm involved in your codependent experiment and I don't want to be in that. You can hear what I've told you and you can take action on it, or you can feel misunderstood and keep trying to convince me. Up to you. What else? Stephanie says, thank you for answering my question. You're welcome. Lost and profound. I don't know if this is a question or not. You say, when you speak of time, I've been trying to wrap my head around deja vu. I've seen myself in the future, and then a week later, I had deja vu about the vision. I lived it out. I don't know that I can talk about deja vu. I think at the very least, it's evidence that we're that time is meaningless. I talked about in the last video, and I won't go into depth this time, but I became aware of the very real possibility that my past, as I understand it, is a Mandela effect. And I feel at this moment very strongly that in June of 2022, when an extremely powerful higher dimensional being came to communicate with me, this being told me something, said, "You are," and told me something about myself. And my experience since then is that there were 3 very powerful spiritual experiences that I didn't understand that completely changed the trajectory of my life. And I'm of the belief that it's very possible that I was somebody else. And when that being spoke to me, it spoke to me in 3 separate times in my life, literally going back into time and creating a conversation that hadn't happened originally. And because it went back into time, because a higher dimensional being can be in multiple times at the same time, that being looked at me and said, "I'm going to change the trajectory of this person's life. I'm going to turn him into something else." And said, "You are," as though it were a fact. Now, in my 3D mind, when he says "you are," I created, well, then I've been that in the past, and I'm going to be this in the future, and that's why I am now. And what was happening is that being was saying, "I'm watching you from birth until now, and I've decided to change your past so that right now you can be a different person, and in the future you'll be something even different." And if I accept that, you might not be understanding what I'm saying. I can barely put it into words. But what it means is that that one communication was happening simultaneously in 3 different points in my timeline. And those were inserted. They weren't originally there. Which means that my past is a Mandela effect. Which means that the person that's sitting here talking to you now is not the person that would have been here had that experience not happened. That's why I'm telling people to do interdimensional meditation. The world needs help, and we have to get out of our own experiments, and that can happen if higher dimensional beings can see us and help us intend a different reality for ourselves. And everybody that I've worked with who's done the interdimensional meditation, they're not the same people they were when I first started working with them. They're not even close. What else? Okay, I don't see any other questions here. That's it. Angels, man, I feel your desperation. I feel your desire. Stop talking so much. Stop talking to yourself so much. Stop trying to figure things out. Have your feelings. You will benefit if you have a teacher. Here's the thing. We can't change our faulty thinking with our faulty thinking. If you have gaps in your thinking, you can't change your gaps in your thinking with thinking that has those gaps in it. So you need a teacher. You need to learn how to listen. You need to have a teacher who's going to tell you and give you suggestions, and you need to say, "Yes, sir." And then you need to, even though everything in you wants to restate everything and get them to understand you, you need to just go and do what they suggest and change. If you don't, it's likely you're going to keep going on this hamster wheel in your head, having an experience that nobody understands you, nobody really sees what you're saying. I didn't say it in the right words. It means you're not comfortable in yourself. And for that, you're going to need a teacher. You can work with me, or you can work with whoever you want, or keep doing what you're doing. It's completely up to you. Anything else? Nothing else. Okay, that's it, my friends. Thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for listening to my story and listening to what I say. Again, this is only the first of 4, the 5 levels of the soul and the 3 bodies. This is lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is this one. Lesson number 4. It doesn't matter. You can go out of order with this. Lesson number 4 is the Pranamaya Kosha, the Life Force Enjoyment Sheath, and you can get that for $10 if you go to the shop, which is here at thunderwizard.com. Click on shop and you'll see that lesson number 4 will be there. The most important right now for your physical health is that prana maya kosha, being able to access all of your life force energy and increase that. There's going to be lesson 2 and 3. I will upload those as well, and those will also be $10. So if you want to know all of the 20 aspects of your soul sheaths, and if you want to know the things that you can do to be completely free of mental, physical, and emotional illness, and be able to be an immortal, which also means being able to physically shift to higher dimensions without having to physically die, then go get those. And with me, you can be doing that, because I'm going to be working on all this stuff myself. And according to the source, Guru Pashupati, if this is coming directly from Babaji himself, somebody who's been physically immortal for hundreds or thousands of years, what have we got to lose? So you can go check that out at thunderwizard.com. Check out the wood element as well, for those of you who are interested. And of course, subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Challenge. Thank you to everybody for showing up. I love you all. As always, my goal is to help you in any way that I can. I have nothing but love in my heart for each and every one of you. And if I have done or said anything that you have found to be hurtful or offensive or unhelpful in any way, forgive me, and know that my intention is always coming from a place of trying to help in whatever way that I can. So thank you for allowing me to be here. I appreciate this. And as always, if the solar flash don't come, and or if I don't get beamed up to the Starship Enterprise, and or if I don't shift myself out of this third dimensional frequency, I will see you all very soon. Please take very good care of yourselves. Know that you are loved, and know that there is no being in the world that is anything comparable to you. You are the most amazing, powerful, and unique being that exists, and the universe would not be able to exist without you being here. Thank you for sharing your experience with us and choosing to become an individual and manifesting. We all benefit as a result. I will see you all very soon.